And now we come to the last Nintendo 64 game that I own. And that is California Speed. Probably one of the single worst games I've ever played. Now, just like Cruisin' USA, this was originally an arcade game. However, to be honest, I never played the original arcade game, so I can't say much about it. But I have a lot to say about the home version. And it's not very good things either. Now, as the name suggests, California Speed takes place in, well, where else? California. And it has you driving through various locations within California, such as LA, Hollywood, and the Mojave Desert. It also has a wide variety of cars, which are grouped into three categories: heavy, sport, and lightweight. Heavy cars, of course, are really big vehicles, such as pickup trucks, muscle cars, Cadillacs, and of course, a good old-fashioned RV. Sports cars are pretty much high exotic cars, such as Ferraris, Lamborghinis, that kind of thing. And lightweight cars consist of convertibles, concept cars, and really goofy vehicles such as forklifts and a golf cart. No, I'm not lying to you, they actually have a golf cart driven by a little old man in those goofy golf pants. So, it sounds like the game has a lot to offer. It might be fun. Well, it might be if it wasn't for one thing: the graphics. This is by far one of the crappiest games I've ever seen when it comes to graphics. To anybody who thinks Cruisin' USA series had bad graphics, well, you don't know bad until you play California Speed. It feels like a beta demo almost. Like they're kind of in the process of being finished, but at the last minute they said, screw it, this is good enough. I mean, the graphics are just so painstakingly horrible. Ugh. And if the graphics weren't bad enough, you have to put up with the lousy control. So, if this game is so bad, then why do I still have it? Well, to be honest, it is kind of a guilty pleasure. As bad as the graphics and control are, there is a lot to do, and I do enjoy the car variety. Incidentally, my favorite car is the Cadillac. Let's just say it kinda reminds me of a certain TV show. You know the one.
Hey, yo, slam your eyeballs against this.
Okay, so that does it for Nintendo 64 games. Now let's move on to the next one, GameCube. However, I only have two. If you watched my earlier videos, you know that I have the game Burnout 2 Point of Impact. However, somebody else is borrowing it right now, so I don't have it with me. But what I do have is Mario Kart Double Dash. Now for the record, I like the original Mario Kart, and even Mario Kart 64, which I sold to buy something else. I just kicked myself for selling that game. But anyway, Mario Kart Double Dash is pretty much the next in the line of series after Mario Kart 64. But as you all know, they added in the gimmick of having two drivers. Well, not necessarily driver. One got to drive, one got to throw things, that kind of thing. Again, it's a fun game, but it's kind of gimmicky in the fact that you have those two characters. Now that I have my GameCube games done, I can move on to PlayStation 2. First game is RC Revenge Pro. Now, for the most part, this is nothing more than a glorified Mario Kart knockoff. Well, maybe glorified is too strong a word. It's more like a simple Mario Kart knockoff. It originally starred on the PlayStation 1, but then was ported on the PlayStation 2. Now this game takes place in a movie studio, with each course having its own theme. You have Cartoon World, Pirate World, Horror World, Adventure World, and so on. You even have your own track editor, the ability to create your own track. Again, very cool. However, there's only actually two big problems with this game. One, this is a PlayStation 1 game that they ported over, and when they did, they added nothing. In fact, the graphics are still PlayStation 1. They just have that little bit of polish to make it look nice. Second, the movie worlds that this game revolves around, they're all very childish and very cliched. You'd think maybe they could have made it a little bit more serious and not so childish. But despite its flaws, it is a rather fun game. The next game I have for the PlayStation 2 is Gadget Racers, sometimes called Chrono HQ or Penny Racers. Now, for the most part, this game plays out a lot like Gran Turismo, but it's been dumbed down. Instead of using real licensed cars, it uses, super deformed versions of the real cars and uses fictitious names for each. Now, just like Gran Turismo, you can upgrade the car, give it a special paint job, and use it in certain races. Unlike Gran Turismo, however, this one is a bit more unrealistic, so to speak, adding in elements that you wouldn't normally find in a game like Gran Turismo, such as skis, flotation devices, and airplane wings. So yeah, it's a bit more childish game, but still, it's not a bad alternative to Gran Turismo. Speaking of Gran Turismo-esque like games, that brings me to the next one. Ford versus Chevy. Now, I picked this up for about 20 bucks, and I think I got my money's worth. The game is like Gran Turismo, but only with Ford and Chevy-like cars. There's not many races or challenges to be had, and I imagine that you could probably have it finished within a week. On top of that, you can only pick one side. It's like you can only be Ford or Chevy. You can't be both. The only way I was able to do this is I had to create a profile for Chevy and a profile for Ford on the memory card. It's a bit ridiculous. Still, it's not a bad play. Now the next game is a combination of RC Pro-Am, Rush 2049, and Destruction Derby rolled all into one. And that comes in the form of Smash Cars for the PlayStation 2. Now this game started off kind of like any other RC racer. It has you racing around tracks, pulling out stunts in order to get turbo boost. But on top of that, you also have the ability to get turbo boost by running into things, such as objects on the course, and even your opponents, which is kind of funny. But aside from the racing aspect, there are other things you can do. You also have a stunt mode, where you have to rack up points, and you also have kind of like a scavenger hunt, where you have to find hidden items before time runs out. So yeah, this is a fun game. In fact, I heard that it got a sequel in the form of DLC content on one of the new consoles. And from what I've seen in screenshots, it looks pretty fun. And now we come to the last game in my racing game collection. And that would be Rumble Racing. This is by far one of my favorite games ever made. Now, Rumble Racing originated on the PlayStation 1 as NASCAR Rumble, but they lost the license. And this is the sequel to that game, simply called Rumble Racing. Again, it has a pretty basic concept. You take control of a car, you race it around a track, and you do stunts. Real basic stuff, but it's a blast to play as. And like a lot of good games, over time you unlock a more upgraded version of each car. There are also hidden cars which can be unlocked by winning races, but others come in the form of Easter eggs, quite literally. You see, there are Easter eggs scattered upon about every track or so that you have to find, and when you run them over, it will unlock a new car. I mean, this is a fucking blast to play. My only complaint is it's too short, and I don't know why they haven't made a sequel to it, because this is a great game. Yeah. So that's all the games I have for now. I also had Gran Turismo at one point, but I sold that as well. I'm kicking myself for that too. But yeah, that's all the games for now.